Today, I want to talk about Tom Herman, his record against Oklahoma, and why Texas fans are pissed. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today is the day after Texas lost to Oklahoma in quadruple overtime, 53-45, in which I get to tell you, yes, Alex Grinch let a lot of yardage go. Also, there were multiple takeaways in this game, and his defense came up with the play to end the game and win the game. Trey Brown has become Mr. OU Texas with his sack of Sam Ehlinger in the Big 12 championship game in 2018, and now with his game-sealing pick of Sam Ehlinger to win Oklahoma a much-needed game against hated rival Texas. And Grinch, for all of his foibles, still has only given up a high of 45 to Texas. Means that no matter what Alex Grinch does, he's still giving up fewer points in a game than Mike Stoops did, and he is undefeated against the University of Texas football. On the other side of this, you have to be livid if you are a Texas fan. Tom Herman is really the only data point that remains from the 2018 victory that Oklahoma got, or that Texas got over Oklahoma, beating a Kyler Murray squad that was really good, and he ends up firing everybody following the Alamo Bowl. Todd Orlando goes to USC. He brings in Chris Ash. He sends Tim Beck off into the ether and brings in Mike Yurcich, in large part to win this game. That's what Texas was hiring when they went to go get Tom Herman, because you have to remember, since leaving Ohio State, he is 2-4 against Oklahoma, with the signature victory of his coaching career coming in 2016 when Greg Ward was quarterback at Houston, and they handed Oklahoma that L. They end up going 9-3 that season and take a loss in the Vegas Bowl. But that 2015 season was really his best as a head coach, where Greg Ward and he end up going 13-1 with a victory in the Peach Bowl. But that was also a year in which Tom Herman did not have to play Oklahoma. And since then, we're talking about 7-6 ending in the Texas Bowl in 2017 in year one at Texas. 2018, arguably the best year that, not arguably, the best year that Tom Herman has ever had at the University of Texas. They go 10-4. They get a victory in the Sugar Bowl, and Sam Ehlinger, with the hat on, says to Texas, "We're back." Turns out he was wrong again. And now what Texas fans are left with is being able to say that, yes, they beat Oklahoma in 2018 while losing the Big 12 championship. So they got the golden hat. They lost the championship belt. I see that as a fair trade if I'm an Oklahoma fan. And then you're telling everybody that you played the national champs close. That's where Texas is. They lost by 7 to an LSU team that was found itself against Texas, ran the table, and now LSU is in shambles following a loss to Missouri on the road, in which they had 4 opportunities from the 1-yard line to win the game and could not do it against a Missouri squad that only had 2 scholarship defensive tackles and only played one of those guys against LSU. And now in 2020, he's off to a poor start with back-to-back losses in this season. One to Texas Christian at home, now to the worst Oklahoma football team that they have seen since 2014. This was a game that Texas was pegged to win from the beginning of the season, to the changes that they made at coordinator, to knowing that Sam Ehlinger was coming into what we thought was going to be a magic year, adding the best tailback in the 2020 class in Bijan Robinson. They've got absolute redwoods at the receiver positions. Jared Wiley is 6'7". Malcolm Epps is 6'6". Brendan Eagles is 6'3". Tarek Black is 6'3". And then Jordan Whittington was out there basically doing what we all expected Jake Smith to be able to do. Meanwhile, defensively, I thought you were getting great play out of Juwan Mitchell. I thought you were getting good play out of Keandre Coburn. And yet, even after Texas managed to bench the 5-star quarterback and starter for Oklahoma and Spencer Rattler through the second quarter, they were not able to take advantage of a Tanner Mordecai who did not look lost but did not look sharp either. He did not look like he was ready to go into that game. And Riley was able to turn that into an opportunity to say, hey, Rattler, this job is not yours just because. There is someone else here who I will give the job to. So after feeling the hook on stage, Lincoln Riley threw Spencer Rattler back into the Apollo, and then the third quarter, Oklahoma played arguably its best football all year, including a signature drive, 87 yards, 17 plays, 10 of which were runs for 46 yards. They were able to ride TJ Pledger into 131 yards on 22 carries. The boy looked good. He looked real good. Looked like a bacon and egg sandwich. Looked good. And that is a tremendous win for Oklahoma, who had 2 scholarship running backs available and had to play both of them. You also see how dependent Rattler is on Austin Stogner, who had 6 catches. Theo Weiss showed up. Marvin Mims is going to be a 2023 NFL first-round draft pick. Yet and still, Creed Humphrey was having a hard time snapping the ball in the first quarter. He was also getting beat up by Keandre Coburn. And yet, when Joseph Asai was let loose, he wasn't doing what I thought he would do. Now you have Texas fans that are tearing up message boards going, I'm tired of this. Tom Herman was brought in to win this football game, and that's basically what it's been. He was able to ride a really great year-and-a-half streak following a national championship as a coordinator into a 13-1 season, a 9-3 season at a group of 5 school that is Houston, into a job where he was being bidded upon at auction by LSU and Texas. LSU ends up going with Ed Orgeron. Texas ends up getting Tom Herman. LSU wins a national championship and gets to go over Texas's dead body in the process to do it. And if you are a Longhorn, perhaps you are looking at these boosters that want to come together, give him $20 million to go away. But the thing is, who are you going to go to? Do you want to give this to Mike Yurcich? Do you want to give it to Chris Ash, knowing that he came off of Rutgers? Do you want to try to go get Joe Brady out of the NFL? Although I don't think that's going to happen either. Are you going to try to go and raid Nick Saban for Steve Sarkisian? Are you really actually going to pull the trigger and get rid of Tom Herman? Perhaps at the end of the year, but I don't think that it behooves them to do that this year. I also know that they get to return everybody they want to in 2021, which means we could get a 5th year of Sam Ehlinger as starting quarterback at Texas. And already I'm hearing so many Texas fans going, no, give us Casey Thompson. Give us the guy that picked Texas over Oklahoma. And that was also a really interesting aspect of this game. So Cam Rising commits to Oklahoma in August of 2017, flipped his commit to Texas in April of 2018. And then there's Casey Thompson that Lincoln Riley wants. Casey Thompson's not ready to make a decision. Tanner Mordecai wants to come. He's the 3rd option for Riley. He takes Tanner Mordecai. Casey Thompson ends up committing with Cam Rising to that Texas class. Then following his commitment, we get Spencer Rattler committing for the 2019 class. And then Cam Rising decides to transfer to Utah, which I thought would have cleared the way for Casey Thompson to beat Sam Ehlinger. But nobody's going to actually beat Sam Ehlinger for that job because that's Tom Herman's guy, right? That's Mr. I'm Chris Sims, right? To which I asked this question yesterday. Which one of the OU DBs grew up wanting to be Roy Williams? Because there are those people that exist. Knowing that you had all this talent, you had a top 5 recruiting class in 2019, that you were able to land the guys that you wanted and are continuing to land those guys that you wanted, means that Tom Herman needed to win this game. And I think this also would have gone a long way to trying to get Billy Bowman back into the boat after he announced his decommitment earlier last week. If you want Tom Herman gone, there is room for you to fire him. I just want to know, is Urban Meyer really going to take this job? All right, that's it for me. Deuces.